You move first. Your excuses wake up second. Every morning, there's a small window, maybe 90 seconds wide, where your body can act before your mind finishes arguing about it. Most people lose that window. They lie still, negotiating with the blanket, waiting to feel ready, checking one more time whether today is the day they'll finally want to get up. It never is. Nobody wants to get up. The people who do it anyway simply stopped waiting for the one to show up first. This is about what happens the moment you stop waiting. Almost 1.5 billion people set an alarm before the sun for the exact same reason: to put the body in motion before the mind has time to object. In Islamic practice, the dawn prayer, far, is prescribed at first light, not at a convenient hour, not when you feel like it, not after the coffee. The tradition is recorded plainly in Sahih Muslim. Whoever prays the dawn prayer is under the protection of Allah for that day. Another version puts it even more starkly. The 2 units of prayer at dawn are better than this world and everything it contains. Read that again. Better than this world and everything in it. Not because the act itself is long, it takes minutes, but because of what it proves about the person doing it. You did the deliberate, disciplined thing before the day gave you a single reason to. For 1,000 miles east, a different tradition arrived at the same insight through the body instead of the word. Surya Namaskar, the sun salutation, is a sequence, not a debate. 12 positions, one continuous motion, performed at first light for centuries. Nobody pauses mid-sequence to ask whether they feel like continuing. You don't decide whether the posture is worth it. You move through it, and the feeling arrives afterward, as a consequence, not a precondition. This is the part almost nobody tells you directly. Motivation is downstream of motion, not upstream of it. You don't feel activated and then move. You move, and the activation follows a few seconds behind every single time, like a shadow that hasn't caught up yet. Andrew Huberman's research on morning physiology says it's something close to the same thing in a different vocabulary. Light hitting your eyes and blood moving through your limbs in the first hour does more to set your nervous system state for the day than any amount of thinking about your state ever will. Your body doesn't wait for permission from your thoughts. It responds to what you actually do with it immediately before your mind has finished its opening argument. So the real obstacle was never a lack of motivation. It was the quiet, unexamined belief that motivation has to arrive before the movement does. A prayer performed at first light and a posture sequence practiced at first light from 2 civilizations that never spoke to each other. Both encode the same correction. Reverse the order. Move first. Let the feeling catch up. 1,000 years before anyone had a word for physiology, they had already built the ritual around it. Notice what neither tradition did. Neither one told its practitioners to wait for inspiration, or to journal about their feelings toward the practice, or to schedule it for whenever motivation showed up on its own. Both built a fixed external anchor, the sun itself, and attached the discipline to that anchor instead of to a mood. The sun doesn't negotiate about whether it's rising today. Neither does the practice built around it. That's the design principle hiding underneath both of them. Tie the hard thing to something that cannot be argued with, not to a feeling that can be talked out of anything. Your alarm can be that anchor. Your feet hitting the floor can be that anchor. The anchor barely matters. What matters is that it doesn't ask your opinion first. Ask yourself, honestly, how many mornings have you spent waiting to feel ready when readiness was never actually going to arrive before the movement did? The window is short. 90 seconds, maybe less. Long enough to sit up, plant your feet flat on the floor and start, or long enough to reach for the phone instead and let the window close without you noticing it closed. You don't need the full sequence. You don't need the full prayer the full posture, the full ritual performed exactly as written. You need the first motion, the one your body can do before your mind has cast its vote. The rest is momentum, and momentum, once you've paid for that first move, is free. Notice, too, what both traditions refuse to do. Neither one waited for the emotional temperature to be right. Neither one treated the body as something to be persuaded. They treated it as something to be moved on schedule, regardless of mood, because mood was understood to be the effect, never the prerequisite. And notice what this reframes about the whole morning. You've probably been measuring your discipline by how you felt when the alarm went off. Groggy, resistant, unwilling. Wrong measurement. The only thing that ever mattered was what your body did in the 90 seconds after, feeling be damned. A billion mornings of precedent say the feeling was never the test. The motion was. This also explains why willpower alone keeps failing you. Willpower tries to argue the mind into agreement before allowing the body to act, and the mind is a very good lawyer for staying still. Skip the argument entirely. Let the body render its verdict first, standing, breathing, moving, and hand the mind a decision that's already been made instead of a debate it can still win. I will move before I evaluate how I feel about moving. I will treat the first 90 seconds as non-negotiable, not optional, not a suggestion to my future self. I will not wait for motivation to volunteer. I will produce it myself, with my body, on purpose, the way it has been produced for centuries. I decide, in this room before the day gets a vote. Move first. Feel second. That's the entire method, quietly practiced across more than 1 billion mornings before you ever heard the word discipline attached to it. If this hits something in you, subscribe. A new disciplined hour begins tomorrow, 7 a.m.